Okay, I think we're ready. Good morning, everyone. Does everyone hear me well?
Yes.
Just give me a thumbs up sign if you hear me well.
Good morning.
Okay, good. Good morning. My name is Clemens. I work at SEI and also the component 1 coordinator of SUMERNET. I'm mute? No, I'm not mute. And they hear me.
Can you still hear me? Give me another thumbs up, please. Yes, good. Okay. What I'd like to do right now is just give you a short overview of our program today, which will take us to shortly past 11, maybe 11:20 or something. I'll give you a very brief introduction into the policy engagement strategy of SUMERNET, just to remind you of what the spirit of policy engagement in SUMERNET is. Not that we, it's called a policy training today, but really we don't have all the answers. And what we'd like to do with you today is just have a discussion on the various approaches to policy engagement in your projects. So it will be a very interactive session. We want to know from you what you plan in your projects in terms of policy engagement. And perhaps we can give a bit of feedback and have a discussion across the projects on what kind of approaches there are in terms of policy engagement and policy impact. After my short introduction, I'll hand it over to May. May will come to you with a poll, an online poll, where we'll see what kind of what the breadth of approaches are that we're using in SUMERNET, and we can have a short discussion on that. Following that, shortly after 10, we'll have a panel discussion where we have a number of select and exclusive panelists that will present to you their projects and also hopefully trigger some interesting discussion on the approaches that they take. Then we'll have a short break. The break will be mostly in order to organize the breakout sessions. So after the break, we'll divide ourselves into 3 groups, so we can have smaller groups for more intimate discussion on each of our projects. After the breakout, we come back, we do a closing plenary. Any questions that are still open, we'll try and answer them, and then we'll give you a bit of a forecast of what's still to come in terms of the SUMERNET series of trainings and events. Okay, so if you don't mind, I will share my screen just now, and we'll get right into it. Okay, you've seen some of this already if you have participated in the webinar, which we organized in about March, maybe, I think in March. We hosted a webinar for those new grantees that were confirmed up to that point, which is, I believe, still available as a recording on the SUMERNET website. Yeah. On the SUMERNET YouTube channel, I'm sorry. So if you want to look back to that, there was a very lively discussion and a lot of questions on the SUMERNET policy engagement approach. And I wanted just to remind you of some of the things that we discussed then. And this is mostly taken from, as I mentioned, the policy engagement strategy of SUMERNET for All, which is available on the website. So essentially, SUMERNET, from a very broad view, consists of 3 main components. Obviously, one of the cores is research, but attached to research, there is communications, and there's policy. And we want to focus on the policy today. But this graph is really to show you that the three components very intimately belong together and are integrated. So you can't take out one and do only one. You need to do all three. And I think the projects that you are conducting reflect that all three components are integrated in your design. I'd like to look at sort of the cycle of policy impact. I think we have committed to an inclusive approach to our projects. That means we want to listen to the voices of different types of stakeholders. We are not doing research just for government. We're not doing research just for a particular interest group, but it's an inclusive approach, which means we're looking at all sectors of society, government, private sector, civil society. But we also have a specific view on vulnerable and marginalized groups, and as well as women. So we can't just do policy-oriented research for one particular group, right? It needs to be inclusive, and the policy recommendations that we come up with at the end of the project need to create benefit for all of these groups, not just one of them. So inclusion is an important aspect. Second aspect is participation. In our research projects, joint action projects, rapid response projects, whatever they may be, we have a participatory approach, which means it's not just the scientists, not just the researchers doing the research, but we're doing an integrated approach, which includes boundary partners, which includes the population, which often includes other groups as well. We want to find the different voices and different perspectives of the groups that we're targeting. So I already mentioned marginalized, vulnerable. We have a specific focus on poverty. We also have a specific focus on women, and we have to include those voices in the outcomes of our research. And I think if you sum it all up at the end, we want to come up with common narratives. Okay, what are the narratives of a particular researchable issue, of a particular problem that we have looked at in our research, and how can we come up with a common narrative so that we all understand the problem in a similar way, and share an evidence-based foundation for any particular problem, water insecurity problem that we might want to look at. And from that stems learning, and hence the cycle comes to a close and starts anew. In terms of policy impact specifically, what we want to look at when we start designing our projects is the policy need, okay? That doesn't mean necessarily the government tells us what the policy need is, but we can identify the policy need by following this inclusive approach and by following or by listening to the various stakeholders. From identifying the policy need, we can craft, we can formulate a policy issue. What is the issue that we want to attack, approach in our project? And first step, usually, when we design a project, is to identify what the policy gap is, okay? Where is there still a lack of information where we can go in with our project and fill that gap with evidence-based information coming out of our project, okay? Once we identify the gap, once we fill that gap with information through our project, we can start going into policy development. But I think, as has been mentioned many times, policy development doesn't start at the end of the project. Policy development starts when we identify the policy need. So together with our boundary partners, we start a process that ultimately leads to policy development. Just a brief summary that looks that's taken out of the engagement strategy. What is multi-stakeholder engagement or policy engagement? It identifies the research question. We talk to stakeholders, we talk to boundary partners, and out of that information, we identify researchable issues. It structures the problem statements. It means in our terms of researchers, by using our categories and methods, we structure a particular problem so it becomes a researchable issue. It captures emerging issues. So I think one of the main functions of the research that we're doing is to look at issues that might not be in the common knowledge yet, right? But might become an issue further down the line. What I normally call Horizon 2 issues. So we can see up until the horizon, but what comes after the horizon. And that's a very important function that research needs to fill. And then we use the multi-stakeholder engagement to set priorities for research. So the policy need that I was talking about before. We do this in a participatory, inclusive, and integrated way. And while we're doing all that, we respect human rights with it and have a view to combat poverty. I want to say that our multi-stakeholder engagement and policy engagement strategy is very much integrated with the research strategy that's also available on the website, right? So Leonie, who is in charge of component 2, the research component, and I have worked on these strategies very closely. You know? But just to give you an issue, just to give you an idea on what the difference is, why we have 2 separate strategies. So the policy strategy is more about engagement with boundary partners, with policy actors. It's about dialogue that you're having with the boundary partners, but once you're into the research, also dialogue that you're having with policy institutions, government institutions, civil society organizations, women's organizations, what have you, that in order to, one, spread the research that you're doing, but also to gather information for your research and enrich your research. It's about outreach, that's the linkage to communications. How do you communicate your research results? How do you communicate any policy recommendations that you come up with? It's about problem identification. So once you've gone through your research motions, what kind of new issues are emerging? And it's about issue framing and communication. On the other hand, research is about framing your problem as a researchable issue. It's about how to gather data and where to gather it from. Also to gather it safely and securely after you pass your ethics process. It's about selecting what kind of methods that you choose that give you the best result for the question that you're asking. Similar with analysis, and then also reporting the results that you have achieved. So this is basically the sort of the spirit that we're trying to pursue in all of the SUMERNET projects. As I said, we don't have a particular answer for what the best way is to achieve policy impact, because we do think that there's a diversity of ways, and depending on the question that you're asking, you have to select a different way. So that's about it in terms of my overview. Next would be the poll and the introduction by May, and after that we'll go into the small panels. I wish you all an enjoyable morning, and hopefully you can get something out of it. Again, if you are following this training and after that you're completely confused, please do get in touch with either myself or May or Leonie or Chinese, and we'll follow up with you individually. Okay, over to you, Min.
Okay, can you hear me okay? I am in the secretariat room and I'm waving now. So thank you everyone for coming. We're delighted to welcome 45 participants on the call today, and thank you. I know it's a public holiday in Thailand yesterday, so thank you for checking your emails and coming today. So we can talk more in the breakout rooms that we've organized after the panel discussion, but first I'd just like to welcome members of collaborative research projects, COVID projects, joint action research projects, JIRA, rapid response. We also have members of the SSE. So thank you very much for coming. So the poll is designed to just help you think a little bit about policy impact, the different boundary partners that you're going to interact with, and jumpstart our discussion in the panel discussion. So Kate, we can go straight to the polls now, or Goose. I think you're already aware of how to use VBox from the previous SUMERNET events we've had. So you can join VBox polls, go to vbox.app, or you can use your phone to scan the QR code. And once you go to the website, you can enter the ID 175366012. Okay? So the first question for you is, what are the expected policy outcomes or results from your project? So I've listed a number of possible policy impacts, and you can select as many as you want. Of course, there might be others, but we can discuss that later in the breakout groups. So I'll give you a minute to finish this. So the options are policy change or policy formulation as an outcome, or building relationships with members of target groups, evidence-based decision support for different target groups, raising public awareness, or other types of policy impact. Okay. All right, we can go to the next slide. We'll show you the poll results after the 4 questions that we have. Oh, okay. So this question is about the policy processes that you are targeting with your project. So you can type in open-ended responses. What are the policy processes that you are targeting with your project to create the policy outcomes that you just described in the previous slide? Okay, I can give you a bit longer. I'm sure the projects you're working to target different policy processes. Okay, next slide. Oh, okay. So these could be policy processes at the regional level, ASEAN-related kind of policy processes that you're trying to target, or maybe they could be MRC-related policy processes that you are targeting. Okay, I think there are some issues with accessing the VBox website. So you can use it, you can access from your laptop at the VBox app. So vbox.app and then enter the ID code. Otherwise, you can pull out your phones and scan the QR code. Okay, I see on the camera that some of you have your phones out, so I hope it's working for you. So the response to this question is an open-ended answer. Yeah, policy processes can be at any level that you're working in. They can be part of trying to influence legislature and legislation that's coming out. Maybe some of you are working with parliamentarians, or maybe you're trying to influence civil society and trying to raise public awareness to influence policy action. So those are some of the examples that you might be targeting. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So we can discuss these answers afterwards. So I know in SUMERNET we talk a lot about boundary partners, and within the different research and joint action projects that we have, I know you are targeting different target groups. So please let us know which groups you're targeting to achieve the policy outcomes that you've identified in the first place. I think many of you have described policymakers as some of your target groups. Maybe civil society is some of your target group. Members of academia, could be parliamentarians. Who are the target groups that you're targeting in your projects? And any clarification questions, feel free to ask them in the chat box. So as Clement says, please be more specific than policymakers. So there are rural development departments that some of you are targeting, groundwater resources departments. You all know your boundary partners, so please. And at what level? Are they national level, provincial level, or district level? And if you don't know, I think this exercise will help you think through who you should target as part of your research project. I cannot send the answer via VBox. So if you're on your phone, there's a box, and you type in the response. I think you can only do one answer, one word as a response, because it's going to be a word cloud. So if if you want to write policymaker, you have to write it in one word.
You're not super.
Does that make any sense?
Yes. No.
Okay. All right, and the last question. What is the expected behavioral change within your project's target groups? So if you really love August, then you'll probably have mentioned Emily. So you are probably aware of the different types of behavioral change that August has talked about in the past. So these types of changes can be knowledge-based, attitude-based, practice-based, or a mix of the above. And you can select as many changes as they apply to your project. So knowledge base would be having more knowledge or awareness about the issue that you're raising. Attitude could be a change in the way that they perceive the specific issue. So for example, maybe they might have a change in attitude on the way that groundwater is extracted, for example. And Clemens is also typing them out for you. Practice would be an actual change in practice. They actually change the way that they go about doing things. Managing water, perhaps they engage with different members of different groups that they didn't before. Or it could be a mix of the above. We'll give you a little more time and then we can go to the results. Okay. Thank you for participating in the poll. Let's have a look at the results. So the first question was about the anticipated policy changes or results from your project. So it seems that a lot of projects are anticipating evidence-based decision support. So using your research or your knowledge from your project to support decision making, as well as raising public awareness. So these are two big issues. There are some in the other category which we can discuss more, which I'd be curious to know what kinds of other policy outcomes. So I know that policy change, policy formulation is quite difficult, but it's nice to see that some people are actually expecting this change. And of course, building relationships with members of target groups. I actually thought this was going to be, there would be higher percentages here because of how collaborative many of your research projects are. So let's go to the next slide. Any reactions, please type them in the chat box. So what policy processes are you targeting within your project? So there's a response trying to influence civil society, providing evidence-based fact-finding, trying to raise public awareness, engaging with multi-stakeholders at national, provincial, and local levels, influencing local decision-making. So that's quite interesting. How would you influence local decision-making? Would you just have coffee with the head of the unit that you're influencing, or are there formal processes that you're trying to engage in? connection with local government, trying to enhance their participating in the process. So I guess research project process, maybe. Researcher findings, decision makers, considering in-plan and development strategy. Okay, so trying to engage in the planning process, I'm guessing. Analyzing the situation and raising public awareness again. All right, let's go to the next slide. We can discuss more of these questions in the breakout groups. What groups are you targeting? So this is a word cloud, which is why we were limited to only one response. We have Liu. Does that mean something? Okay, we are trying to engage communities. The Department of Groundwater Resources in Thailand, women, partners. I'm guessing you have a lot of different partners, policymakers and members of marginalized groups, CSOs. All right, go to the next and final slide. What is the expected behavioral change with a new project? So I guess, yes, a mix of the above is the overwhelming response. Also, a significant number of you saw that knowledge change would occur, and as well as attitude and practice. So thank you for participating in the poll. We'll discuss more of these ideas and think through what kind of policy processes and outcomes that you're trying to work towards in the panel as well as in the breakout groups. So without further ado, we can move to the panel. So panelists, are you ready? I hope you know who you are. So panelists, we've already prepared the slides. We have the slides and we will proceed for you. Okay, so delighted to introduce a female-only panel, all women from Southeast Asia. So the first presenter will be Dr. Kanokwan Manoram. She is teaching at the Faculty of Liberal Arts at Ubon Ratchat University in Thailand. She works in Thailand and the Mekong region in fields such as water and land governance, development, and social impact assessments. She's also a member of the SUMERNET steering committee. So after Dr. Kanokwan goes, we have Dr. Phan Kun Tham Ban. I hope I said your name okay. She is a lecturer and a researcher at the Department of Rural Development at INSECURITY University. She has a background in agriculture and rural development. And last but not least, we have Pulaban Singsapan, or Noi. She is a lecturer and a researcher at the Faculty of Environmental Sciences, National University of Laos. She's the head of the Unit of Climate Change and Sustainable Development Department and works on climate change adaptation, renewable energy, and disaster risk reduction and management. So we have two representatives of the collaborative research projects as well as one joint action project. So Dr. Kanokwan, would you like to go first? And we have your presentation ready for you. So I will give you 7 minutes to present. Dr. Kanokwan, are you online?
My apologies. This is Bishamon, so I'm part of the research team. I'm not sure if Jan Kanokwan is actually online yet. Would it be possible for, I think because she has a class, would it be possible for us to come back to her once we've heard from the other speakers?
Sorry, we had a technical difficulty in computer. She's not available yet, right? She'll come in a few minutes.
If you wouldn't mind circling back to her in a few minutes. Thank you.
Okay, that's okay. Dr. Van Pham, would you like to present? Are you ready?
Hello. Hello.
Prepare your slides for you.
Or I can share my screen. Oh, it's also okay.
Okay. Would you like to share your screen?
Okay, so let me.
We can see.
Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, can I start?
I think, are you on mute or
Oh,
can you
no.
say something to
Yeah.
see if your audio
Good
is working?
morning. Good
We can't
morning.
hear you.
Okay. Okay. Good morning.
Oh.
Good morning,
Oh, I think it's
everyone.
a issue with the secretariat. Sorry, we have some audio issues. But everyone else
Yeah.
can hear. Oh, we can hear you now.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning again. Well, I'm happy to see all of you again, and may I represent our team to present the issues of policy engagement of our project, Water Saving Innovation and Water Insecurity Reduction in Vietnam. And this project will be conducted by the two universities in the southern of Vietnam, An Giang University, members of Vietnam National University, and also Kiên Giang University. And our partners is Department of Agriculture and Rural Development in An Giang Province and Tân Biên District. And we also have partners in WWF, and our students also take part into this project. And we don't forget our mentor, Dr. David. So the research, the case study we are going to study in An Giang Province, a province in the southwest of Vietnam, and in this district, you see in the green line is the Tân Biên district where we will conduct our project, and this district also have the border with Cambodia. To begin with, I would like to emphasize the issues of water insecurity in the upper parts of the Mekong River, and because of the weather, the climate change, and also the impacts of the agriculture development. So the issues of water insecurity have been gained a public attention, and we try to use less water in order to give more water for people in the downstream. So we would like to do this project in order to introduce the agricultural technique to the Khmer village and to reduce the water insecurity problem and also to improve the livelihood for those communities. Within this project, we would like to engage policy in terms of how to use water more secure. The less water the farmer in upstream use, that means the more water will be available for farmer downstream. So to answer your question, who are we working with? We have the numbers of partners we will work with, but we will have the very close relations with departments of agriculture and rural development at both province and district level. Because in our society, in our policy, this department have responsibility for water management in agriculture field. We also have the close relation with Department of Natural Resource and Environment and others stakeholders in the province, and also community like farmer union, women union, all of that. We would like to create a policy community within this community we will work with. And don't forget, we have the good, we'll create a good relation with the UWF, because we want to transfer the results of our research to further audience. And how we will work. So it may different from other society, but in the political system, we have the parallel system from the national, province, district, and commune level. But the entry point of our project is community. Although it is not the administrative unit in the policy, but we need to start with this level in order to make sure people in this community to understand about the issue of water insecurity. And through this research, through this experience, we will get further impact to the community, to raise awareness of those people there, and to ask them take the issue into account to the yearly plans, and further to district or province level. With the hope what our do will have the impact on 5 years planning, extension program, or other 10 years term strategy at the province level. And on the right, you will see the list of the partners. We work together with the two directions, top down and bottom up. Because in the political system, the national level will write the decision, and at the lower levels will follow that. But we also have another channel from the bottom up. We listen to the community. We listen to the community for the advantages and also the disadvantages, what they are facing at the current time, and take part into our work. And we hope with those partners on the right, we can we can engage our results of the research into the policy planning at different levels. So for the COVID-19, to be honest, we are quite safe at the beginning. No, we are quite safe right now, but we have to be ready. We have to be careful any minute, any days to prevent the COVID situation. So in case it happened, we will follow on the medical instruction of the doctor in Vietnam. We have to wash our hands, we have to wear the face mask, etc. We have to do all of that for both researchers and also for farmers and also other partners we were working with. And we will use online discussion with partners, or because our project only inside the Vietnamese border, also it should be okay if we use the telephone or other like Facebook or Yalo. We have several ways to communicate. We also have the online workshop, and one important thing is we will keep and follow the social distancing. In case if we have the meeting with the farmers at the local community, we will divide the group meeting to be smaller, 10 or 15 people to be there, and make sure they are separate at least 2 meters or 1 meter amongst each other. Or we can ask our students or researchers go to work rapidly with farmers. And more importantly, we will enhance the roles of communicate media. We will write the papers on the website of the university or Facebook, or all the ways we can transfer, we can give the information to many people, farmers and other audience for the future. So that's all what I'm going to say. Thank you very much, and looking forward for your question again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a quick follow-up question for you is, did you say you're trying to contact the provincial and district level government departments in order to reach the commune level and community level, right? That's the process that you'll be engaging in.
Sorry?
You will be contacting the provincial and district level government departments in order to reach the commune and community levels, right? That's the process.
At the beginning, yes.
Okay.
At the beginning, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and we can discuss more after the in the discussion round.
Yes, please.
So, Dr. Kanokwan, are you online? Otherwise, we can move to Noi. Okay. So, we will share your presentation for you. 1 minute. Can you say something, Dr. Kanokwan, so see if your audio works?
Hi. Hi, good morning.
Good
Hi.
morning.
Can anyone hear me?
We can hear you well.
Anyone can? Okay, thank you very much. I'm just running from my class.
Yeah, thank you for making the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I thought I would have like 5 to 7 minutes presentation, right? So
Yeah.
I would get started now. So good morning, everyone. I would like to explicit roadmap for our desired future with regarding to policy engagements from our projects. Our projects called Co-Creation Knowledge to Enhance Women's Leadership for Inclusive River Governance and Livelihood Resilience. This project will be undertaken into countries like in Shan State in Myanmar and in Ubon Ratchat Province, Thailand. So the main goal of this research is to accelerate progress toward women's leadership in river governance and enhance women's livelihood resilience in the Mekong region by identifying and implementing the most effective mechanism to knowledge co-creation. This is the objective of our research project. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so in order to fulfill this session, I would like to talk about how we engage with the policy. So I must say that we do not necessarily to have exactly the same ways to work with policymakers in both countries like Myanmar and Thailand because we have different contexts, but we do have same research goals to achieve as I mentioned earlier. First, in Thailand, to engage with policymakers, we would do the following to work with related policymakers and also other boundary partners. The first one, we will be assessing context of communities and existing policy networks in the area. What does it mean by context of communities? Include, I think I would like to include like role of women in water insecurity related to livelihood situation analysis and COVID-19 related problems and challenges. And policy networks consist of course, a lot of, there are some key policy makers from local level up to the provincial levels. For example, the community-based Mekong School, local schools under the Ministry of Education, Royal Irrigation Department, local authorities, university, and related government agencies. I don't know, my Zooms. Hi, anyone can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, but I haven't seen my screen. It's gone. I don't know what happened.
No.
Anyway, anyone, you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. I have my own screen.
Okay.
The second point is that we will organize the kick-off meetings with boundary partners and related policy makers in the village. Key message that we will communicate with them are why this project is very important, how it be useful and beneficial to people locally and society at large. And what happened is a very critical point. And what happens if policymakers ignore this important project? So we are going to do the kick-off meeting and invite boundary partners and key policy. Next, we will get rigorous and relevant evidence about Mekong curriculum through participatory action research process. And women and men, both children, young people, middle-aged and old people in the village will be acting as researcher or co-researcher. The curriculum will be developed and mainly the focus of the curriculum are on like local livelihood strategies, water insecurity, and health disaster management. Package of curriculum such as fishery conservation, making use of Mekong products for food and sale, importance of Mekong River to local people, income security and food security, and so on. But we will not provide too much detail. Of course, we'll be talking with the policymaker, so we will not provide too much detailed evidence. But we need to synthesize and frame evidence as base for deliver to policymakers. We will also update them during and at the end of the project. And then we will talk with policymakers. So to talk with them, we need very good communication. We plan to use communication tactics to disseminate the Mekong curriculum and to influence the policymakers and related academic groups. We will invite local university and national university who are very interested in this kind of curriculum, Mekong curriculum, to be part of the projects as stakeholder, and during the project, we will invite them, and at the end, we will invite them to talk and discuss about this, how to make use of the Mekong curriculum. And the tactics we will use such as social media engagement, roadshow, meeting, conference, quite traditional, but I think it's quite powerful. We will train women in the village, the young women and middle-aged women and the old women to use not so sure about the old, but the young women, a lot of young women working on this project, to use social media and how to make a very concise presentation to disseminate information to present the Mekong curriculum to the policymaker and university lecturer. And then in Shan State Myanmar, this is very a skill area, so the non-Chinese and the team will do quite the same as Thailand, but they have particular context. They will do a workshop in the community first, and then they will collect challenges in terms of research and the needs with regarding to water security.
You have about a minute left.
Yes?
You have about a minute left.
Okay. And then they organize some stakeholder meeting and also address water security. And of course, they apply Mekong curriculum. And in both Thailand and Myanmar, we will cooperate well-known local university and stakeholder and using network approach, as I said. And then we work with the stakeholder, particularly the external partner, to help us university people, to help us. Of course, we strengthen and empower women by training them, and how to make them to maximize their chance of policy influence. This is all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I think even from these two projects, we can see that on the outcome of trying to raise public awareness, there are two very different strategies that are being employed. So Dr. Van Pham has talked about working with WWF to raise public awareness more, but in your project, Dr. Kurnaon, you're talking about working with schools and training women in villages to use social media. So these are very interesting communications strategies that you're employing. Okay, next, last but not least, we can go to Noi. Okay, do you see your screen, Noi? Can you say something?
Yes. Hello.
Okay,
you
we
hear
can
me?
hear you. Do you see your screen that we're sharing?
Yeah, I see my screen. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you
whenever
very
you're
much.
ready.
Okay. Yes, I'm ready now. Thank you very much for today. Very interesting topic that on behalf of the IODA project, that we have representative from Laos, Thailand, and Vietnam. I'm going to present regarding to the. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yes, regarding to the questions that are given by SEI team on policy impact, for our project, we have been working with about the integrated domestic water accessibility on vulnerable and marginalized group of people in the lower Mekong country, like in Laos, in the central part of Laos, and in the northern Thailand, in Chiang Rai province, and in the southern part of Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City. Yes, with this, we have identified the key boundary partner that we are going to work with the local authority, with the provincial and district level, in order to get involved to access the water issues in these three provinces, in order to get to access the overview of the water demand or water supply, focusing on the domestic water issue within the vulnerable group and marginalized group, for example, in the agriculture consumptions or downstream ecosystem, or in the vulnerable group of people. Then research will focus to identify the main factor of water insecurity and conduct the rapid vulnerability assessment and focus on accessing water insecurity. So with this, we have been identify the boundary partner that we will focus on local authority, Mekong River Commissions on behalf of the intergovernment who has working or monitor regarding to the water issues in the lower Mekong countries. And we have been prioritize the gender on the women associations, village level, and leader in from the communities level, as well as the household leader or representative from the group of vulnerable and marginalized group. Yes, totally will prioritize the women in the 50% of the interview will be the women. Yes. Next slide, please. Yes, for now, we have been prepared to work with the policy levels, and I have identified in difference because we have different names of the key stakeholder, but within parallel with the same organizations. For example, the water resource sector or the Ministry of Environment, Natural Resource and Environment, who focus on water resource, climate change, or water supply. Enterprise, because in Laos we have enterprise, state enterprise for the water supply, and others relevant stakeholder. And Vietnam also, we have mentioned about the water resource management sector and irrigations related to the water surface and domestic water irrigation. Yes, for Thailand, we have identified the key stakeholder. For example, at the central and local level, will be the Local Irrigation Department, Department of Water Resource at the province, and Department of Local Administrations. With these stakeholder or decisions maker, that we are going to have a connections with them in order to get the qualitative data during the survey and during our research studies. Next slide, please. Yes, in these two specific in the questions that Secretariat has given to us, how will we work with them to achieve the anticipated policy impact? First of all, we thought that we have to understand the needs, gap, challenge, disadvantage, advantage at the study area. Especially the policy, regulation, strategy at the district and province level. Because in our three different countries, we have quite some gaps in policy, and especially in the local policy, that's very important for us in order to enhance the local decision maker to understand what is the needs and what is the main issues. So with that, from our approach or strategy that we will use SLD, like share learning dialogue with the primary key to find the conflicts, filling the gap between the boundary partner, and to make agreements, to make the um, commitment with the policy, local policies, and also building the participations with the point, like the goal together, that in order to achieve, then we have to get their agreement, their support. It's very important. And also we will work closely with the decision maker at the district and province level with or like officials informs, or we will organize the kick-off meeting or go to interviews or introduce our project to them and process like interview, because we will focus on the key informants interview with the local policy maker and stakeholder. Can you go next slide, please? Yes, this is, for example, that some approach and solutions that we are prepared to anticipate the policy, like to propose the research finding or policymaker to intend to see and consider um, for the investment and prioritize the policy measures, as well as to recommend a specific water supplier or service provider to consider and develop, for example, the extension of water supply system and service to the vulnerable and marginalized group of people in our research area, and to recommend the CSOs, CBO, and NGO to support the vulnerable group and marginalized group of people to have increased awareness on water conservation. And we will also discuss and comment to the NGO or INGO to support and in terms of the financials or knowledge sharing on the water supply infrastructure or service to this target group of people. Yes, and for right now, the situations has been happens. So we are prepared for the online platform for the survey, interview, and consultations. But this is the optional, because in Laos we are not really in serious situations, but we are aware of the COVID. So we will be able to go to the field. But for Thailand and Vietnam, maybe the online platform will be the optional for us in order to make our work is on time and following the schedule. Then we have to adapt and modify into the situations. So online meeting and discussions we are doing regularly, even with among our team and also with the local partners. Yes, and making the connections with the head of village or communities. It is before we get to connect the head of community, we have been sending the official letter to the district administrative and governor in order to get access to the communities. Then we will get really close connections with the head of community in order to access the rapid assessment or primary data before we go to the field. And also we keep the connections with the local authority in order to get more easier and get facilitated during our research studies. Yes, I think this is all from our presentations and on behalf of IODA project. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you so much. We have talked about so many different things. You know, going back to the poll results, we've talked about outcomes, processes, as well as different boundary partners. And from these presentations, there's been a lot covered. MRC is a regional partner that Noise Project will target, but also community level groups like women's associations are ones that are going to be targeted. But I also think you raised some good points about processes, formal processes that you have to hurdle through in order to engage in the policy process. So formal letters that you have to send to different community heads, departments, as well as even forging agreements with different departments in order to get some buy-in. So we have about 5 minutes left. Does anyone have any questions for our panelists? You can type them in the chat box, or you can just ask it. All right. If no questions, I have a question. There's a question. Some projects have a long list of boundary partners. From Janice, are these realistic for all of you to contact these boundary partners? And I guess a question to add on top of that, is it realistic to contact all your boundary partners given these COVID times? Are they savvy on Zoom, and are they able to contact you online, or is there going to be a challenge trying to work with, for example, the MRC? Or what about the community leader? Is it going to be difficult for you to contact them because of COVID? Go ahead.
Okay, I will share some experience. For us, we have identified the key policy boundary partner because I think it's really relevant and important for us to get as more as we have. For example, in Laos, I have identified between the government institutions and the NGO organizations and the INGO. So for the communications, for us, we think that we will be able to access, or we will be able to have the interview, because we want to get the qualitative data with the key policies that we have been identified. Yes. And MRC is located in Vientiane, and it's not really hard for us to access to them. And yes, with the COVID situation right now in Laos, is quite normal now, so we will be able to access that.
Thank you, Noi. Any of the other panelists want to add about their strategies for connecting with all the boundary partners? Or otherwise, we have a question from Ajahn Luis.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kanokwan.
Yeah, I would like to add, for Thailand, we don't have any problems getting involved with stakeholders, because mainly in Thailand, our stakeholders in the province, and even when I talk about the Ministry of Education, they are regional offices in the region, so it's not very difficult to get them involved. And Thailand quite easy now in the area. We can go to the village at any time, wherever we are comfortable to go. The government is not very strict as ever before. So but in Myanmar, there are some restrictions. We are going to narrow down. Some of the boundary partner might not be able to be part of the projects, and we are going to adjust this and resubmit the revised proposal to SUMERNET.
Thank you. We'll take the question from Luis, and then I'd like Ms. Dr. Van Pham to answer Rajesh's question.
Yeah, because we had a meeting the other day, and
So this is Louis here. I think the topic that we're discussing about boundary partners is really important. I feel that the teams are very ambitious. They list almost every project, every stakeholder as being a boundary partner. I think we'll make better progress if we can separate out the idea of boundary partners just from ordinary, from stakeholders. Stakeholders has many kinds. Some of the people that are boundary partners are people you want information for, you want to interview. Sometimes they're the targets. But boundary partners, if you go back to the idea of boundary organizations or boundary spanners, where this term originally came from, are individuals or organizations that play a role in mediating the transfer of knowledge and understanding in both directions. And boundary partners are not your final target, but the people you want to work closely with because they have this capacity to link to your target population or to your people involved in the public policy process. I think if you can cultivate one good boundary partner in a project or two good boundary partners, you're already doing really well. There are other stakeholders, but they're not people you can't work closely together with everyone for all time, for every plan. So I'm really concerned that if there's no prioritization, you end up doing very shallow relationships, very shallow analysis, very shallow level of understanding of your individual boundary partners. I think it's better to actually pick one or two and really work closely with them because they sit between the research, even if it's action-oriented research, the project team, and some of the things you want.
Hello? Can anyone hear us? Okay. Thank you, Louis, for the good point. I know that a lot of project partners have very good existing relationships with some of their boundary partners. Okay.
I think prioritizations of boundary partner is a very, very important and useful comment from Louis. We are taking this issue well because, you know, in particularly this time, in Thailand, the focus would be with the Ministry of Education because Mekong curriculum, it's very related directly with the education or universities. So I would like to make the link between the CSO who are doing curriculum with university and with the school in the area. So this is the first sets of boundary partner. The second sets about local authority. You know, local authority, they have some budget. In the long run, they could even be able to support the Mekong School. So maybe this is the first and the second organization that we are going to work with directly. Yeah, so in Thailand, yeah, for example.
Sometimes the local authority is part of the problem rather than the solution. In those cases, you might want to work with another stakeholder.
It's very challenging. Yeah.
There was a question from Rajesh to Dr. Van Pham about communicating with local media at the district level. I know you identified WWF, but do you have any ideas on how you might engage with more local media personnel?
Okay. When I talk the media at the district level, I mean we will have like the kick-off meeting with the authorities at the district level, and during this meeting we can connect with people like journalists or people in the media channel at this district to talk about the contents of the meeting, and later on our project will provide the leaflet about the wet and dry technique in both Vietnamese and Khmer languages, and with those leaflets we will left for the farmer in this district. And also we do the focus group with the local farmers at the hamlet levels. So that we mean media at the district level. Is it okay? So
yeah, thank you very much. There's also Rajesh will also have a media training organized where you can talk more about these strategies. I think we can take one last question, and I wanted to draw your attention to the question from Ao Thơ because I think in Myanmar the COVID situation is quite difficult, and communicating with local stakeholders is also very difficult online. So from the panelists, how do you deal with boundary partners that you feel you need to involve more in online meetings, or they're difficult to access? What are your strategies on connecting with more community level organizations? Kanokwan or Noi or Van Pham, would you like to answer?
The other day when we had a meeting among the team members, Nang Chining mentions about difficulties to get access to some boundary partner. She would like to prioritize, to narrow down maybe a few boundary partners she could be able to reach them. So this is the thing that we discuss among ourselves, and also as I presented, she will do a workshop in the community where she works. So I don't think any problem with that. But for some boundary partners very far, she would like to cut off. That's a thing that we maybe now, if Nang Chining's here, she can also jump in and say some things about this.
Thank you, Ajahn, for the presentation, as well as the good questions. Yes, in the beginning, we plan to do research along the Darin River basins. It is quite remote area, but due to the COVID-19 travel restriction policy put in place, now we could no longer travel from one place to another. That is why we plan to focus more on significant lake. It's called Inle Lake. So in that area, it is accessible for our local researcher to travel freely and able to access to the local community. Thank you.
Else to add, Dr. Van Pham, we can wrap up and go to the breakout rooms. So anything from you, Dr. Van Pham? I think you're on mute. Are you on mute? Okay, can you say something, Dr. Van Pham? Hear you.
Oh yes. So sorry, I lost your point. Can you repeat? Because of the information.
If you have any ideas on how to contact local organizations that have trouble going online.
In case of Vietnam right now, I have no problem to contact the local authorities, because we can use the phone or any Yellow, Facebook. We can contact them easily. For us, not a problem right now. Yeah. Even with farmers.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So it's very dependent on the country context, it seems, and you know, Nan Chinen also mentioned moving the research area to a different location because remote access is so difficult now. So I think in Leonie's session on research, there will be more discussion on how to conduct research during COVID. But for now, we will move into the breakout groups. It's 10:50 now, and we'll reconvene at 11. You don't have to do anything. You will automatically be put into a breakout room. And there should be a facilitator, either myself, Clemens, or Leonie, waiting for you. Okay, thank you.
So, if you don't mind, in the chat box, could you please put what your project name is? So I've already got one. Thanks, Pinchamon, with co-creating knowledge to enhance women's leadership. So that's the rapid response. So it's great to hear from you. Any more projects in the room? Everyone's furiously typing. I like that. I notice that there are still some people joining into the room. So this is a list that we can keep adding to, but remember to put it in and then send it through so we can make sure that we hear from your project. Excellent. Okay, so could everyone, if possible, turn on your camera so we can see who we have in the room. Great. Oh. Good morning all. Okay. Domestic water, vulnerable communities. Not to worry. Okay, so at the moment I have two projects that are sitting in this room. I have the Co-Creating Knowledge to Enhance Women's Leadership project, and I also have Integrated Assessment of Domestic Water Accessibility for Vulnerable Projects in the Lower Mekong Basin. Are there any other projects that are here in this room? I can see more faces, so I'm guessing we've got some more projects sitting there. While you're writing your projects in, you can turn off your camera now. Thank you very much for giving us an insight into how everyone is looking today. What I'd like to do is I would like to start with asking our project teams around our room about what are two policy processes that they're using to actually engage with their boundary partners, to be changing the knowledge or the attitude or the practice, which is the aspiration for these research projects. And when I mean policy processes, well, I guess what I'm trying to get to is, what are the events, what are the things that you're doing, the practical, tangible things that your project is doing so that you can really influence those boundary partners. So with that said, could we jump to the integrated assessment of domestic water, your project? What are two things, two processes that you're using that you would like to highlight to the group that are going to influence your boundary partners?
No, can you unmute? Yes. No, can you please unmute? Please start speaking.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. Actually, in this breakdown group, we have two representatives from our project. That I think Dr. Lam Noi is here or not. I'm not sure. Okay. Can you repeat the questions again? Yeah. The two policies, right? Can you hear me? Can you mention the questions once again?
Okay, the question is now in the chat box. So the question is, what are 2 processes you are using in your project to influence the knowledge, attitudes, or practices of boundary partners?
Okay. We have been identified the kind of the methodology and approach that we will be able to lead to the local policy with the interviews, with the questions and specific key focus group discussions among the individual decisions maker and on behalf of the institutions at the local and district level on the water issues, water resource issues. And with that, we will have very specific interview with the decisions maker. And secondly, we will go to the communities level in order to get encouraged with the local leaders, villagers, for example, and women's leaders at the communities level to get specific questions and interviews. Yes. And second, another is the questionnaires that we applied for the survey for the household, which we use to interview the household leaders to get access to the household survey with the number of the household. It is a 2 key methodology that we are going to conduct in rapid assessment.
Okay, just to be clear, those are 2 research generating approaches that you're using. And I guess I'm after your policy influence or impact approaches. I know previously you talked about workshops with some of the local leaders, and that's more of a policy impact approach or policy influence approach, while an interview is more of an approach where you're getting data from someone and taking it away. It's not necessarily a 2-way experience. So I'd just like to clarify, is your interviews a 2-way experience, or is it more about you getting information from the households, from the leaders, and then taking it away to analyse?
We will 2 ways reflections between the interview, and also we will do the workshop with the local decisions maker. Yes.
Excellent. We will come back. Thank you, but that is good. So we have 2 things. We have workshops and interviews. The other project that I know we have in the room is about the co-creating knowledge for women's leadership. So both of these projects have actually presented to us earlier this morning, so we are learning so much from what they are doing. Can I ask you, co-creating knowledge project, what are 2 processes you are using in your project to influence your boundary partners, to influence either their knowledge, attitudes, or practices that you hope are going to be happening after going to be growing after the project finishes?
Sure, thank you for that. So I think firstly, I'll just preface my group's response, speaking on their behalf as well, that we envisage policy as being multi-leveled, and that it can happen at different levels, not necessarily only at the district, national government, or MRC levels, for instance, but you can see policy being formulated within schools, within communities as well, both formally and informally. So with that kind of conceptualization of policy in mind, we do view that the process of research production is very much a part of our policy impact approach. So going back to what you were saying earlier, Leonie, that it is a 2-way experience from our standpoint. And so for that reason, much like the previous project, we're looking to have stakeholder engagement through the kind of the usual means, like having meetings, workshops with district water planning department leaders, for instance, as well as with community leaders, but also by bringing boundary partners like district schools into the process of producing the Mekong School curriculum, which will be one of the main components of our project. So we view it as being really important to bring the kind of our boundary partners into that design process, so that they inform not only the data that we collect, but also determine, to an extent, not everything, but to an extent, determine how we also interpret our engagement and the results of our engagement.
Great. You've lined out a nice way that you're using your processes in research to also deliver your policy influence from the beginning, which is terrific to hear. I know we have more people online. Are there any other research projects that have not talked in this group? Dr. Chowra? So I know we have some joint action projects here. Sorry.
I'm just a SSC member, and I'm not doing any project with SUMERNET yet. In my previous experience, when we have to do a project, we approach separately to the community leaders and government officials. Then we collect the data and combine those multi-stakeholder together in the workshop and creating the questionnaire and approaching to the community. Yeah, basically it's more or less it's the same.
Great. That's very much a participatory research approach which many of the projects in SUMERNET are using as well. So your experience is really important to share. Thank you. I know we have the AA Adapt project online. Would they like to talk about how their project is using two processes or two approaches to really engage with boundary partners?
Hello, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. So we are planning to conduct our research in two provinces in Myanmar, like one in the Mekong State and the other one in the ARE regions. Our collaborative researcher in BNN, they will conduct their research in the data area of the BNN. So it's a Tamil Lagu. So I'm not sure I pronounce well. So it's a data area in the BNN. So our boundary partner is we are working with the Department of Agriculture and Department of Fishery, because our targeted community is the fishery and aquaculture, the agriculture farmer. So the marginalized farmer, so smallholder farmer. So our boundary partner, the Department of Agriculture, is play an important role in the community development, especially in the agricultural development of the region. In the other side, so Department of Fishery are working closely with the community level, community farmer for the technological developments in the area for the fisher and fishermen. Okay. Oh, sorry. So we are planning to work with the Department of Agriculture and Fishery.
And you say work with them, do you mean have meetings with them, talk with them regularly? How do you mean work with them?
Our research is granted, but we haven't received any funding yet, so we haven't started the research implementation phase. So we are planning to work in the coming months, but but no, we haven't done anything yet.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like we have some planning work as well happening, which is very important, I think, for success. We have another joint action project here on water savings, innovations, and water insecurity reduction in Vietnam and the Mekong Delta. So would you like to tell us how you are working with some of your boundary partners? Maybe one or two processes or events or actions that you are taking?
Well, Eunice, I asking me, right?
No, you've outlined for your particular project, which is called AA Adapt. Is that correct? Yes. So I am now asking a different project to tell us what they are doing. Same question, different project.
Oh, okay, all right. So please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Chow Ra? No? Okay. All right. So we have now heard from 3 projects about their processes, and we've heard some insights from doing a long time of research on the ground in Myanmar. It seems that we have some themes that are coming through, that our research is enabling us to influence our boundary partners as we go. But we've also talked about sometimes some events, like a specific workshop or a specific sort of school curriculum type of event that are being used. Is there anyone here that would like to talk about an event that they have done maybe in the past that has been very successful and why that is so? Okay. There's no one that thinks they've done a previous successful event. How about we look to the future? Does your project have one event that you think is going to make a big difference for its influence on those boundary partners?
Sorry, okay. Anyone speaking?
Not yet.
Okay. So in the future, regarding with our projects, we are planning to empower the capacity of our boundary partner. So we would carry out the baseline information and also basis capacity need assessment. So from that, then we want to explore what they are. We want to explore. I mean, identify what our community need, the boundary partner need. For example, if they need the awareness training, for example, like early warning or maybe early the climate change adaptation strategy. So we are going to work together with them to empower to enhance their capacity. So we want to by me or knowledge sharing or by me or awareness raising. So this is we are planning to work in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Great example of targeting your boundary partner's needs. My feeling is that the Co-Creating Knowledge for Women's Leadership project has a similar issue by targeting schools. Is that correct, Pichamon? Is that how you are focusing your work?
Well, certainly the school dimension is one part of it and a very important part, and I think what makes our project really interesting, because again, when we conceptualize key policy stakeholders, we often think in a more formal sense, whereas schools also play an incredibly important role when it comes to informing local understandings, local knowledge about these important issues. So yeah, schools do make up a very important part, but we will also be engaging and building on existing networks with local officials, again, within like the water planning departments, but also within the MRC, for instance.
Great, thank you. Ms. Mai Luin Ang, you have mentioned that you have previously done a lot of work have you built on your previous networks to actually get influence in boundary partners?
Actually, my previous project didn't work with the boundary partners, just in the urban. So I not really know about the boundary situation yet. I'm really interested on it. But anyway, we can contact the current situations and what they need to know about to implement their situations, the awareness programs, or maybe something like useful information we have to share.
Great. And how about any other projects? We've just got a few more minutes. Is there anything that some of the other projects would like to say about their approach to policy impact and influence? This is your chance to speak. Long Tao, I see this name. I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, sorry. I just have a phone call. Just pick up my phone call. Yeah, okay. I think we also talk about the experience during the last project related to the boundary partner. Yeah, and I think that's when I have one project under not really SUMERNET, but the Empower, and we work with the at district level about the impact of hydropower on the Mekong, on the people in the community downstream level river. And I think that we should work from the provincial level until the district level, and then go to the community level. And at that, we work with what kind of the purpose of the project. For example, in that case, we work with the water in security or insecurity, and then we have to identify very clearly about the boundary partner. Like for water hydropower, we should work with the person, the department in charge of water at the district level and at the community level. And if the project related to the agriculture sector, we must connect to the agriculture department from the provincial level until the district level until the community level, and we can use like a in-depth interview with them, and focus or even focus group discussion, and we discuss about our issue with the community partner or boundary partner. And I think with that case, we don't know, we don't need to very ambitious to connect with all the boundary partner, but we have to select specific in detail who will be benefit for your project in terms of community partner, boundary partner. Yeah, and in the coming month, maybe we will work with the voice, response to the voice, with the pupil insecurity, with the water safety, like water for hygiene and water for hand washing, the new project. We also will select the community partner, like the Department of the Public Health, because it's related to the COVID-19 disease and also the hygiene and also the water. And so I think that the first thing we have to select detailed and very specific and very the right person to connect with for the probably partner. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. That is, it's terrific to hear both from your past experience, but also the things that you're looking at doing into the future, is to really work with some of the known boundary partners. And I think we've unpacked just in the last, I think about a minute to go. Is there anyone else that would like to say something? No? Okay. There is one suggestion here that the agreement of boundary partners should be taken by memorandum of understanding. I actually think you've raised a really good point, and something we've talked about here, that we have both formal processes such as a memorandum of understanding, an established government network and established government process to engage with. We have informal processes that we can engage with, such as the interviews that we initiate, the ideas about capacity building, and perhaps more of our engagement with schools, which are perhaps more informal in our approaches. I think it's critical we recognise those two parts, because they can lead to very different types of outcomes, and you actually engage with them in a very different sort of way. And it's great to see that we've got both of these happening. I'd love to hear more about how they are successful, because I know you will all make them successful. But I think the informal processes, you might, as research projects, have more ability to structure and to influence more directly, while perhaps the more formal processes, you are just sort of like one of many people that will be influencing perhaps the more structured processes that are established. But it doesn't matter. I think it's a great opportunity that we should keep talking about these. And I'd just like to thank everyone on this call or in our workshop room today about engaging. These sorts of events are only successful when you share the information you have. So I know that we're going to be kicked off in about a second or two. I'm getting the special hand waving that you do. But it's been an absolute pleasure to hear from all of your projects, and I wish you the best of luck. So thank you, stay on. We'll have a little wrap up with the whole of the projects across the whole of the policy workshop in just a minute or two. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Can you turn on your cameras? We have...
Sorry, my camera have some problem, so that I just turn off and I can see you very well.
Okay, no problem, Dr. Lam.
Yep.
Okay, so thank you for joining the breakout session. We will speak until 11:20, and the purpose of this discussion is to learn about your policy outcomes and the different strategies that you're using to achieve your policy outcomes, so that we can try to help each other out. I know also that some of the projects have regional policy dialogues planned, and I'd like to discuss if we can collaborate together to see if we can organize a regional dialogue, or maybe collaborate together on organizing a joint policy event. So, all right, at the Secretariat, it's me, May, and Nguyen, who is on the comms team, and Dr. Chayan is over there. So if I'm not wrong, we have Dr. Min U from the COVID Voices Project. Yep. So hello, Dr. Min U. And then we have Duong from the Joint Action Water Savings Project. Duong Vanya, are you there? Are you from the Collaborative Research Project? And we also have Duong Nguyen Trang from the Joint Action Water Savings Project. We have Miss Nun Shining from the Rapid Response, Co-Creating Knowledge to Enhance Women's Leadership. We have Nguyen Du Kien from the Collaborative Research Project, HEC and RAC.
Yes.
Nice to meet you. We have
Yes, nice.
Hong Dung from the Collaborative Research Project, VICA. Tran, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, nice to meet you. We have Thong An Tran, Thong from the Sarua Project. Yes, we have Thuka from Rapid Response Project. And we have Sobot Soth from the Collaborative Research Project, Wetlands for Water Saving, I think. Okay, thank you for joining. So I wanted to talk to you more about the topic that Dr. Louise raised, which is about boundary partner prioritization, and also maybe some of the challenges that you might be facing. So, you know, from Nun Shining, we heard that in Myanmar, it's quite difficult now to contact remote people. Meu or Thuka, is there any issue in your projects with contacting partners in Myanmar, and what are your different strategies for coping?
Yes, thank you very much for your question. So yeah, we have the same problem in Myanmar, like Nun Shining or talk about or last or a few minutes ago. So I think we also have a problem.
Sorry, you're on mute. You're on mute. Just let me know.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, we have the same problem like Nun Shining talked about a few minutes ago. So in Myanmar, so we have the same problem because we have very difficult time for now. So, and then also in our project, you see that we focus on water scarcity and COVID-19. So we would like to hear about the voice of the local people. So at the time, so to approach the boundary partner, like we discussed before, we have so many difficulties right now. We don't have we are not allowed to commute to one township to another, and to make gathering, especially to make focus group discussion with the local people as well as the the boundary partner. So it's very difficult for me up to now. So, but plan B, we are going to plan using social media platform like the Zoom meeting, like a Zoom, and also like a Facebook, something like that. So we are going to plan like that to commute with the local partner, but boundary partners or something like that. Yet, this is the brief for our difficulty, especially to approach with our boundary partner. Thank you very much.
Would you like to add anything, Thuka?
Actually, I'm with Nun Shining with the CKEWL project. So we have the same situation. But
Okay.
I'm not with Mr. Menu.
Thank you. I think the strategy is very interesting to change the project location to a less remote area. And I think some from other people's experiences, I think yes, of course, we can move online to different strategies, but you know, some of the local communities might need social media training or knowing how to use Zoom. So it's a little bit of a challenge. I wanted to go back to the question from Dr. Louise and Chayanis about prioritizing your boundary partners. So, you know, in a, I guess we can go around in a circle or with one representative from each project. Who is the most important boundary partner to you and why? What is the policy outcome you're trying to achieve through that boundary partner? You probably have a lot, but this is a discussion to help us think of who do we really need the most and how do we communicate with them?
Hello, can I say something? Yes, thank you for your questions. I think it's very interesting and very compelling and very critical questions regarding how we prioritize, different, boundary partners. And this is tricky, because in reality, for example, I just, focus on the political context and regional context of Vietnam. So it's a lot of top-down decision-making processes, and it's important for us to demarcate or separate the different levels of communicating or consultation with partners, different different types of partners, boundary partners across different administrative levels, like the national level, provincial level, district level, and community level. So in terms of prioritization of different boundary partners, this kind of tough because each boundary partners, they had their own goals, they had their own responsibilities, they had their own agenda in terms of for example, basically just talk about government officials at central level and provincial level. They have their own agenda in doing things. So in terms of this particular project, we try to kind of flexibly build up the strategies to approach them individually. For me, for my group, I think it's better for us to just individually just separate, just step by step. At the beginning, we try to approach them individually, talk to them individually, engage in the process of building or developing the projects and communicating with them, the research issues that we're considering. And then of course, at each level, we have different other boundary partners. For example, at the community level, we have government officials at the community level, and also we have different others boundary partners like farmers or women's association. They all link together in different aspects. For example, so if we just focus on something, for example, talking about the impacts of pesticides on household, especially on like female, for example, female farmers, we're going to talk to women's association or just talk to farmers who are women and to understand how things going on with them or how the impacts they got so far when interacting with the pesticide, for example. So it depends on the questions or the way that we target what we ask in or the information that we get in order to target the proper boundary partners. And then as long we've processed like from we approach like a bottom up way, like starting from with boundary partners from the community level, the lowest level first, and then the district level, provincial level, or the central level, and then refer back. Just in the process of checking or triangulating information or data that we collect over time, and then to try to find out how much information is reliable or and then we can find out what the commonalities or similarities and how to what extent all of the boundary partners have a common voice in terms of how we identified out the starting point to targets in order to make things move forward. And then I think the process of policy making is to just follow this kind of strategic pathways in order to move from one end to another end. So I think that's kind of bringing back, just talking about the questions that Louis just raised earlier. I think it's hard to determine, or to define who is the most prioritized and what particular process. But the thing is, depends on the level that we approach the boundary partners in different ways in order to get particular information in order to make things move forward. That's my idea.
And thank you very much. I think, it is very important to understand what kind of policy outcome that you're trying to achieve. So, of course, contacting the target group, which is the women's farmers, is one area, one group that you really want to target. But I think in Dr. Lam Noy's project, they are going to have a dialogue, a learning dialogue to understand the policy gaps. And I think that's a very good strategy to identify not only the priorities, but also who the priority boundary partners are going to be. So Dr. Lam Noy, do you want to talk a little bit more about that and who you think your priority boundary partners will be?
Hello. I'd like to talk a little bit about the priority boundary partner. For our project, we are conducting the integrated assessment for domestic water for vulnerable and marginalized group. So we would like to focus on the boundary partner is including the first the policy maker, who is directly responsibility for the provide the policy domestic water policy in the research area. From the research finding, we would like to, because our research finding is would like to develop the investment priority and policy measure for the how to enhance the accessibility of the water, domestic water, to the vulnerable and marginalized group. So we would like to see that we will propose the research finding to policymaker, and intend to see the policymaker will consider the investment priority and policy measure recommended by the project to them planning and strategy of domestic water resource management in the development. For that, how to achieve this? For the when we achieve it, because we are developing the big policy from the issue, we will find the adaptation measure, how to solve the issue of domestic water accessibility. After find the solution for enhance or increasing the domestic water accessibility, we will propose it to the decision maker for the we should what sector we should focus and what is the investment priority. For example, if we find that in our research area in Vietnam, the rainy water is one kind of priority for the vulnerable and marginalized group, so that the policy, the investment should encourage the tank construction or the provide more time for the poor and vulnerable people, for example, like that. So we would like to discuss with the policymaker. We also would like to explain the situation and ask them to consider the gap right now, the gap, and how to fill the gap for improving the water accessibility for the poor people. In addition with it, we would like to work with the water supply and water provider. For this, we would like to discuss with them for their considering of development of or extension of water supply system and service for the vulnerable and marginalized group in the research area. That is all the sharing from my side for the water resource management decision maker is the most important priority, and the second is the water supply provider in Vietnam.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good way of prioritizing based on your key research themes. So you're going to have a one-on-one conversations with the domestic water related entities as well as the water supply system managers, I guess. And also you will have the policy gap identification to identify key stakeholders. Do others have other strategies that they're going to use to identify priority areas and priority research partners? maybe we can hear from someone that hasn't spoken. What about our colleague from Cambodia, Sobot? Or anyone else? Dr. Tron? Or hello? I'm not sure if they're online. Did you want to say something? Did you want to say something?
Yeah, just I just mentioned earlier that we this, we don't have to just stick to one strategies, but just we had a different kind of strategies to approach different partners. But then think about the way the thing. My concern is how at the end of the day, what kind of information we come up with after interacting with the boundary partners and try to find out how they link together. Just the information provided from one boundary partners align with the information we collect from the other boundary partners across different administrative level. So supposing if we just come up with kind of very diversifying, very contrasting ideas or point of views from different partners, and how can we come up with the consensus among the partners? So I think it depends on this kind of country or the context specific strategies. And in the case of Vietnam, especially in the Vietnamese Mekong Delta, the way we approach this, of course, we had a long list of boundary partners, but then we try to aim, approach each different boundary partners with different ways. Like the way we communicate with farmers must be different from the way that we talk to the government officials across like the communal level or just district levels or communal level, provincial or central level. Yeah. So I think if we just draw out the map or the strategies that the way that we communicate with boundary partners, then I just divide it into different levels like central, provincial, district, and then we can determine pinpoint different boundary partners across different levels and try to find out a relationship within the boundaries, but across different boundaries as well, different level as well. So try to draw out different connections, determine the connections and how the decision-making process following that what way, up down or from top down or bottom up. So determine the kind of flexibility of how things or decision making versus decisions are made across different levels. So that way we can determine
about the scale of the policy impact and the policy processes. I notice that a lot of the projects are going to work with provincial level and district level government. Why would you not want to scale up to the national level? Is there an issue with connecting to the national level, or what are the challenges? Is there no interest in connecting with the national level?
To my understanding, I think they hold a lot of responsibility to things on the ground that take place in practice at a local level. But to my understanding is they seems to be kind of their responsibilities to things on the ground is not that much. And I think it's beside those who were at central level, I think it's the provincial level governments, they understand the situation much better than the others on the higher level, at central level. For example, like most of them based in Hanoi, how can I understand what things going on in the Mekong Delta? So, and they get very busy with their political and, the everyday, working in gender and everything. So I think it's better for us to, just to approach or trip, the guys who just close to the context, understand you're in a better position to understand things or make a decision. So I think the provincial level government officials should be the best boundary partners to approach rather than, and then, as we agree on that, just communicate with those with the top brass government officials at the central level, and then come up with the consensus or negotiate towards, how things could be changed to improve the situation. So I think that should be okay that way. In the political context,
so we have about 1 minute left. What about other experiences from Cambodia, Myanmar? Okay, we'll have about 2 more minutes. Is there is it the same issue with trying to connect to the central level government, and that's why you're focusing on provincial level? I think non-shining and then commu, we can go.
Yes.
Thank you. Depend on the research area, the target stakeholder also change. For example, now we from Salawin River Basin, now we change to Inle Lake. Inle Lake is very significant in Shan State, and all the policy related to river and water management also amended or done by the state level parliaments. That is why our target also changed to the state level decision maker. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Can you hear me now? Hello?
We can hear.
Yeah, thank you very much. So when we think about the boundary partner, so I think it's also depend on the issue that we approach and also the area that we are focused on. Because in our projects, for example, so we selected 3 area like a mountain area and also urban area and also lowland area, something like that. So if we think about that, the first of all, what we have to think is what boundary partner doing for local people. It's a very important one. For example, so if we think about the very remote area, especially Shan Highland area, like the area we focus on, Pindia and Yuangan. So in that case, rural development, Department of Rural Development is very important for our boundary partner, because rural development is a key player, especially in water scarcity and water supply management, as well as the policy related to water development, something like that. So our boundary partner is rural development. So we go to approach them because when you see their task and responsibility, they improve services delivery related to water, especially rural areas. And also they especially do their major task for the rural people in the remote areas, because that's why so we go to improve the rural development in that area. So, but when we think about another area that we focus in urban areas, like a suburban area in Yangon City, in such a line townships, and in that case we have to change our boundary partner, as even though we focus on water scarcity, because if we look at the urban areas, urban area in water scarcity, especially water related issues, municipal is a key player for the urban area, like YCDC Yangon Development Committee. Water committee is a very to approach them is very important for our priority. So because our planning, water supply and sanitation is their duty and their responsibility. So in that case, our boundary partner approach is different.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
thank you very
so
much.
much.
I think
Sorry,
the
we
time is
have
up.
1 minute remaining, and thank you for a very fruitful discussion. I think we talked about how to prioritize boundary partners. We can understand policy processes more, have more one-on-one discussions, but also we talked about how the central government is not a main priority boundary partner because they're quite detached from some of the issues that we're very interested in. But maybe we can all work together, because if we compile our research findings, we might be able to influence the national or regional level more. Okay, thank you. So we will go back into the plenary. So I will see you there. Thank you for joining.
Start my video. Yes. Okay. Hi, everyone. I think we might be complete in our room. This is breakout room 3. Hopefully, you're all ready and you've gotten yourself a drink to have an interesting discussion. The first thing that I'd like to ask you is which projects do we have represented here in this group? So if we could just go one by one, I'll call your name as it is here written on the screen. And if you could just say which project you belong to, right? And we've already heard from Pham, but the can I have the someone to? Sorry, someone stole my notes. If I could just ask you, so number 1 question is which project? Number 2 is who are your boundary partners and at what level are they? So are we talking about local level, community level boundary partners, regional, provincial level boundary partners, national level boundary partners? Okay, and what is your main form of communication with these boundary partners? If you could just go through every project, that would be great. Maybe Pham, can you, just in order to get us warmed up, could you repeat yours so we can take yours as the first project? Is that all right?
Hello.
So name of the project.
So I work for the project Water Saving Innovation.
Say that again.
Water Saving Innovation and Water Insecurity Reduction Vietnam Mekong Delta. Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, let's pick this one again.
So who exactly are your boundary partners, if you could name them?
Okay.
Don't need to share the screen.
One? Oh, it's okay, okay. So my boundary partner is the closest squad is the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development at both district and province levels. That means
which level? Province and district. Provincial and
district and province level, yeah.
Okay. And how do you talk to them?
How do I talk to them? Actually, we have very close relation with them because we work in a university and we have many contact with them before. We can meet them if we want to see them at his office, or we can make we can call them or either contact with them by internet.
So are these people that you already contact very often, not just in this project, but also in other projects?
This department, not particular these people. Different people, but this department we have the good relationship because actually we work in Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. So we have very close contact with them before.
Okay, that sounds great. So only one type of boundary partner, right? Only this department, which makes it easier for you to communicate.
And also the Environment and Natural Resource Department at the province and also district level, also our partners. But we think we will have close connection, close relation with agriculture more than environment. For environment, we want to work with them to get the information about weather situation and also the status of water in order to indicate the situation of water.
Okay, so can we say there you have like a primary boundary partner and a secondary boundary partner? Mostly you talk to the agriculture and then also sometimes with the environmental?
Yeah, if we could say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. If we could move to the next project. On my screen, we have Tang Sang An, but you might be in the same project, right? Tan Sang An? No, Tang Sang. From Anjiang University. Anjiang University. Same project?
We
actually,
can I talk? Can I talk now?
Who is it? Trandang, yes?
Yes, my name Ans. An and Tong, the same project in Serua projects,
yes.
evaluation social and environment impact of intensive dry production and pesticide use on water quality in the lower Mekong region. Case study in An Giang in Vietnam and Chiang Rai, Thailand. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so if I may ask you, An.
Yes.
Who exactly is your boundary partner and how do you talk to them?
Yeah, actually we have two kind of boundary partner.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, one is the district and provincial partner, and other is national boundary partner. In addition to it, we have the private sector because they working in agri-chemical company.
Yeah.
They have a very strong relationship with the farmer in our case study. So we'd like to include them to make a one need of understanding of the environment protection, especially water and ecosystem protection. So in more detail for national level, we have land development department, Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperatives in Thailand, also in Vietnam, and also in national in provincial level we have the Department of An Giang Department of Agriculture and Rural Development and An Giang Department of Natural Resources and Environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, that's so. And how we contact with them is actually we are Thailand University. We have belong to the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. It means that we have very good relationship and we are contact with them by many projects before this project.
Right.
So we have worked closely with the Department of Construction Management and Directorate of Water Resources, Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And also in our member, Dr. Apison, working closely with the Land Department's Minister of Agriculture and Corporate in Thailand.
Yeah.
And in An Giang Province, we have the AEU, these are our research partner. Dr. Song and other members working closely with the An Giang Department of Agriculture and Rural Development.
Right.
And also the Natural Resources and Environment Department. So we have many projects before that. We have frequently contact with them by meeting, email, and we also work the same project before this project.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I just ask you about the private sector chemical company? How do you contact them and how are they involved in the project?
Okay, let me spend this answer for Dr. Thong. Please, Dr. Thong, could you please, because he working closely with this in An Giang Province.
Is that 3-1?
Dr. Thong.
Thong. He is there or not?
He's in this room or not?
No.
I'm not sure. We have a 3-1, but otherwise no one.
Mm-hmm. But actually, what I know from this boundary partner is the An Giang
yes
has project about pesticide protection in Anjang province. Actually, they're working closely with this company because they provide more than, well, maybe more than 1375 agri-chemical product within the province and also in Mekong Delta. This is one of the big company. So they are contact with the director of this company and also the staff of this to improve the environment protection in this province. So in more detail, Dr. Thong maybe.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah.
He's in another group, so maybe he can explain in that group. Yeah.
That is the, I think it's information about this power partner.
That's great. Thank you, An. Because I already mentioned your name, Tri Tuan, can I ask you about your project?
Thank Clemens. I supposed to give a presentation also this morning, but I did not see my name, so it's fine. My project is called Bringing Modern Food on the Table. The shortcut like Primo Food, and this. Let's see a little bit of detail of the project. We focus on some gender, social equities, focused participation in transboundaries Mekong wetlands management. We cooperate with our partner from rural and agricultural faculty of Kiên Giang University from Vietnam, and we focus our area study in Cambodia is focused on Takao province, where we have a big wetland management system there. So our partners is we intend to work very closely with the Department of Environment and also agricultural cooperative at the ground level, plus the local community that we intend to do more detailed interview and working with through our period of research projects. And of course, this project is intended to build knowledge through this type of research, like a participatory action research and political ecology approach. And then so we link to the national policy at the national Department of Wetlands at the Ministry of Environment, who are the key player in charge of the area. And a little bit the history of this project, like it used to be under the Ministry of Agriculture in the past, but through the zoning management, like conservation and production are changing. So this area become more oriented under the Ministry of Environment. And of course, there are multi-actor in the area. We have agriculture, we have a water resource, and also rural. I don't think rural is a very big play role, but Department of Agriculture, Department of Water Resource are big competing agencies working in the area, and also local authority that key play a big role in coordination or actor who come into the local level.
And how do you get in touch with all these different actors?
We first we start engagement at the national level. We talk with the international conservation, like international grant conservations, BirdLife International and WTT, and also we learn about our colleagues who work at the Ministry of Environment, who play a big role in the whole wetland conservation in the whole country. But at the ministry, they seem very scary, and they so this is a big target for advocacy level. I think we need to bring a lot of ground level empirical and co-learnings. And after this, we send an official letter to the provincial authority. So with this the provincial authority agree and send to our district authority. So they use their own way of communication,
like formal process.
Yes, we do a consultation first, and then we do formal process, and then we visit the area directly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you very much. If you don't mind, we'll move on.
Okay. Yeah.
I have here Mr. Ting Bui Dup. Which project are you? Ting Bui Dup. Oh, there you are, yes. I think you're muted. Maybe unmute. Still cannot hear you. Is ours working? Yeah. You hear me clearly, but I think you're muted. So if you could unmute yourself. Or are you already unmuted? I can hear you, see your mouth moving, but cannot hear anything. You're on. Huh. Okay, something wrong here. So maybe we can come back to you later once we figured out what happened. In the meantime, can we move to, who else is there? We had Akan. Who is Akan? It says Lao Akan. Which project are you?
Yep, good morning.
Who's that?
From Laos, Department of Livestock and Fishery.
Oh, that's great. Which project are you?
Yep, my name is Akane. So I'm involved in the project on enhancing aquatic habitat in upland environment.
Great.
So the partner that we working with is we work through the district and provincial agriculture and forestry in Laos, and also the Lao Women Union at the district level. So our project involved in Laos and Cambodia.
Yes.
Fishery administrative of Cambodia.
Yes. So can I ask you, Akane, because a lot of people already mentioned they're working with the district and provincial agriculture department, but you're the first ones that work with the Lao Women's Union. So why are you working with the Lao Women's Union, and how did that contact come together?
The role of women.
Because we are focusing on the gender involvement of the fishery resource enhancement.
Yeah.
And so that's why we invite Lao Women Union in our project. And also their member is mostly focusing on the fish processing. So we looking for the value added in our product from the fishery resources.
So they're involved in fish processing, right? And that's why you brought them in?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And may I ask, how did you start contacting them, or how did you get them engaged in the project?
So first we have a consultation workshop with them, and also we have create a WhatsApp group so we can communicate each other by mobile phone.
Yes.
Yep. And also the online meeting, if possible, in some area that they have internet access.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Maybe I can also ask Saurabh. Saurabh, which project and who are you bounded?
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Very well.
Yeah, I'm Saurabh Kesi. I'm PhD student at SN Institute of Technology, and currently I'm representing ZIRA project. We say it is strengthening groundwater governance in rapidly urbanizing areas of Lower Mekong region. The major aim of the project is to evaluate the current state of groundwater governance in Lower Mekong region and recommend the ways to improve or strengthen the groundwater governance based on evidence on based understanding of groundwater availability, its use, and a potential conflict under multiple stresses like climate or land use change in future. Our project case study areas are on 4 countries, that is on Vientiane in Lao PDR, Khon Kaen in Thailand, Siem Reap in Cambodia, and Can Tho city in Vietnam. And the project consortium consists of our project partners, AIT.
Saurabh, can we skip to the boundary partners, please?
Yeah.
We don't have that much time.
We have 4 boundary partners for 4 different countries. Department of Water Resources in Lao PDR, Department of Rural Water Supply in Cambodia, Department of Groundwater Resources in Thailand, and Department of Water Resource Investigation in Vietnam. And we contact our boundary partner through the personal relations of project lead in AIT, and we have 3 different partners who are in contact with the boundary partner, and they link the lead partner with the boundary partner. And also for the engagement of the boundary partners, we have already agreed with all the boundary partners to involve 2 members from the boundary partners in the project implementation.
That's wonderful. Okay, perhaps I can try and get back to Ting Bui Dup. Does it work this time? Ting Bui Dup. Does it work? Or still not? Can you say something? Still doesn't work. That's a shame. Which project have I not mentioned yet? Sorry, Ting, but it doesn't work. How about Nguyen Thai Fun? Nguyen Thai Fun. Are you in a project that we haven't mentioned yet? Nguyen Thai Fun. I can see you're unmuted, but I can't hear you for some reason. Okay, in this case, we'll move to Louis, if that's okay, of the Voices Project.
Thank you, Clemens.
Yes.
Our strategy has been quite similar to those you've heard of others. We're working in 5 countries.
Yeah.
It's a 1-year project, 3 sites. We've decided to focus on one common boundary partner in all places, and that's the district level public health office. And that comes about because they are getting a lot of attention now because they're the key source for awareness, etc., on the COVID-19 pandemic, which is the focus of our project. In particular, getting good access to clean water for drinking and for hygiene, for washing your hands.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just wondering, how did you get them excited for your project?
Right, I was going to go straight to that. So our project started on the 1st of October, but we started getting in contact with them before we even knew the results of the proposal being submitted. And we made direct visits to most of the places we would need to work, explained to the director of the office what we wanted to do, and offered them to have researchers join our team as co-researchers, and they've agreed. And so we've got two researchers from joining our team in planning, and also they offered to give feedback on our survey instrument, which we have a draft, and we give it to them as well, with basically the message: if there's anything they want to add, any other data that would be useful for their work, please suggest, and we'll insert it into the survey instrument.
Okay, yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you, Luis. And maybe just because we have to get back in about a minute, try Zook again, Team Boy Zook. Still doesn't work. Or Nguyen Thai.
Clement. Clemens, I noticed that the Tin Boy has been typing in stuff in the chat box because he can't.
Yeah, he's the leader of the VICA project, collaborating water management for small-scale hydropower dams in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. That's great. Yeah, we can read your messages, but unfortunately, I don't know why we can't hear you, even though I can see that you're unmuted. So I'm not sure what's going on. Nguyen Tai Phan. And have I overlooked any other projects? I don't think so, because we have Pon Vilai, she's the SUMERNET fellow. Hap Nabi is the steering committee chair. Otherwise, I think we covered all the projects. Well, unfortunately, we haven't heard from you, Ting, but I think all the others are quite interesting. What I've noticed is that most of you cooperate with district or provincial departments. A few work with national level departments, only one with private sector, and only one with an interest group, which is the Lao Women's Union. So a lot of focus on sort of formal policy making or formal decision makers, perhaps a little bit less focus on other aspects of the society, but that's fine. I can see, and maybe you can see that too, that the breakout room will close shortly. I'll try to give a short summary of what I've heard just now in the plenary, but please feel free to support me in the chat box and also the through the microphone. Okay, I'll see you shortly in the plenary. 10 seconds. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming back into the plenary. I hope we had some fruitful discussions. We definitely had some very interesting discussions in our group. So just a quick recap, we in our group spoke about prioritizing boundary partners and the different strategies to identify priority boundary partners and thematic areas. But we also spoke about policy impact at different scales and why it might not be so important to engage at the national level because of the different responsibilities that provincial level government and district level government has on community level water issues. But Leonie?
Our group was awesome. We had a small range of projects, and we really unpacked the idea that there are formal processes that you can engage in, such as MOUs and government structures, and then there are informal sort of policy approaches that you could use. Perhaps your past experiences and networks, maybe engaging through your interview information, and perhaps through schools. So more unusual approaches. There's real good. So these formal and informal are two different ways to engage with our boundary partners and have policy influence. Thanks.
Yeah, in our group, very similar. We talked about who were our boundary partners and how did we get in touch with them. And it seems that in a lot of the cases, the boundary partners and the researchers work together already for a very long time. They know each other very well. Either they're connected formally through networks, or they've been working together on previous projects. In some cases, they were new boundary partners, depending on the topic of the research. In that case, I think personal connections were very, very important. Also going to visit them and presenting the ideas to them, each obviously in their area. We did look at also the spread. Most of the boundary partners were government departments at either the district or provincial level. So the focus is still on sort of the formal policy process. We did have one project that engages with private sector, with the chemical agrochemical company and wants to involve them because of its very expansive networks with farmers in the region. And we have another project, the Uplands project, that works with the Lao Women's Union. So that's more of an interest group because of their focus on gender and women's role in fish processing. So I think that's, branching out from just government departments to other types of boundary partners is very important. Although obviously, if we want to make changes in formal policy, then the government departments will be very, very important. Louis added in the chat box that his project, which is the Voices project, also works very closely with a CSO, but they are using provincial and district departments as boundaries, sort of as official boundary partners to aim at influencing national policy. Yes.
I think that's it from us. Please do continue to engage with us via email. And I think Cheyenne will make an announcement.
Not really announcement, but I just want to just listening to many projects talking about your plan to engage with boundary partners and also some challenges you are being faced. So I just want to highlight that we really appreciate as Secretariat here that you put a lot of attempt and considerable effort to engage with the boundary partners at early stage. But of course, because this is the early stage, through the project implementations and through your engagement with those boundary partners more in the future, we could imagine that we will know more and you could see more who are really those you can continue working with and also could attain the expected outcome and impact that you have envisioned. So we are open in case of any project or research team feeling that you need to adjust your list of boundary partners, not only prioritizing from the long list to the short list, but also if you find that through the engagement with them, you found new boundary partners that you feel they are actually most people or most group or most kind of agency likely to make this possible. So we can always discuss and also adjust as needed, as long as you're trying to attain and also try to achieve your objective. And that's also linked to the kind of MEL, monitoring and evaluation framework. And I think that Agus and Albert will talk more during the training. By adjusting the boundary partners and also prioritizing them, there might need to be some adjustment in the kind of result framework as well. So during, especially during COVID time, so we really realize a lot of challenge you need to face, and that's why we are really open and also welcome for any opportunity if you want to get some feedback and also discussion with us. So actually that, yeah, thank you for opportunities to talk.
So we do have an M&A poll. You're all very familiar with VBox now, so please do take the poll. And I also wanted to announce that there may be small grants available for SUMERNET next year if you want to explore some collaboration for policy dialogues or scaling up your policy impact. Please keep an eye out on small grants. And of course, we're also looking for SUMERNET fellows to work with us at the Secretariat.
Where's the link to
So
the survey? Yeah.
The survey we will show you now.
So we have as usual, we have a session evaluation, so we can improve the next training. So please join the VBox app, or you can just click the link that I just shared in the checkbox. So I can share my screen.
So once you log in, you will see the screen, and then you can just press this red dot on the top, the tab with the red dot, and then you just fill in the questions.
So just to clarify, this is not an online poll. They can do that at any time, or they have to do that now.
If you can, please do it now.
Okay.
But we will open this link for maybe another hour or something after.
Yeah. So following this call, please go to the survey with the link in the chat box in order to help us improve on these types of trainings. As mentioned several times, we're all learning from these online trainings. Nobody really has figured it out properly, but we have to get better, because we'll probably in for a lot of online workshops and trainings in